Welcome back to another edition of the Real Life Finance Podcast. I am your host, Ben Joergens. I'm joined today with Laura Nowinski, which I'm really excited about, an attorney over at Deig Law who practices her specialty in family law and estate planning. And Laura, I'm really glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we're going to take a different spin today in the podcast and dive into a world where I think a lot of people have questions, but they're a lot of times uncomfortable to ask, or they don't know where to go in some of these things. So I thought it would be good to shed some light on that. But before we do, I thought it'd be good if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, Laura.
Sure.
Your career path and where you are here today.
Sure. So I'm from Newburgh. I grew up here, ended up back here after school. I'm a graduate of Castle High School. Then I went to IU Bloomington for undergrad.
Go Hoosiers, right?
Yes, go Hoosiers. Yeah. Met my husband there. And after IU Bloomington, I went to law school in Valparaiso. So I went to Valparaiso University Law School and graduated. And at the time, it was a really tough job market. You know, people that had already graduated and passed the bar didn't have jobs. So came back home and thought, well, just, take it easy for a bit, take the bar. Ended up interviewing with the firm I'm at now right before I took the bar. So it made it a little more nerve-wracking than what I thought I was going to be. But passed the bar, started with the firm as soon as I passed, and I've been there for 15 years. So
that's awesome.
It's just been I was very fortunate to have landed there.
Yeah.
It's been a great place to grow a career as well as grow a family and all the other things that come with it along the way.
Yeah. So perfect. Well, we're really glad to have you. So I think what I'd like to start in is the estate planning and, as we think long-term security. So average family, what are some of the must-haves? And maybe we can define what estate planning is, but what are some of the must-have documents when it comes to like having a will? And why is that so important?
Sure. So one of the most important things is that so you have control of what is going to happen in your life and then after your life. Yeah. A lot of the estate planning isn't so much for you as it is for the people you love.
Yep.
You can save them a lot of grief. You can save them a lot of money, often by doing some thoughtful planning that isn't always as expensive as some people might think.
Yeah.
Most people think immediately to a will.
Yeah.
There are also some other things that are equally, in my opinion, as impactful, like a power of attorney.
Yeah.
We see this a lot. We have a lot of people come in and say, we're having this emergency with my loved one. We really need to do something. They have dementia or something else that they're describing to me that they're incapacitated. And then I have to let them know that unfortunately, they don't have the capacity to give you power of attorney at this point. And then we're looking at a guardianship. And
how important is it? Because I know we had to do this in our family. My father-in-law had a stroke and luckily my wife had, it's important to do things before things bad happen. And I think at my father-in-law's age, elder financial abuse is such a big thing, tens of billions of dollars are lost every year to seniors, and having that protection in place when we think about a financial impact is so key. So how good is of an idea is it to have that done before something bad happens?
Oh, I mean, it's the best idea.
Yeah.
And you can also have financial abuse with someone, unfortunately, that is named power of attorney.
So be careful who you pick.
Be careful. Yeah. And then if you have suspicions of that, by statute, you can, if you're an interested party, you can request an accounting. And I've had a case that there was a brother that unfortunately just wiped out everything. And he quit his job. And so to even try to recuperate what he had blown, it was... Yeah. One of those you can't get blood from a turnip. Right. And it was just really unfortunate.
It is tough. And for those that are listening, we do teach classes on money safety for seniors to help people protect those assets. And I think that's a good reason from what you just explained, Laura. And as you talked about, the wills and so forth, nobody wants to think about themselves dying, right? And
right.
I've lost friends at a young age, and they were very thankful that the will was put in place when that was done. So why is it so important for a family to have a will done early in life? Because we don't want to think about death, but in reality, it's a reason to be protected, right?
Sure. It's just, again, planning for the unknown and realizing, as you grow and as you accumulate assets, it's allowing you to determine how your things are going to be distributed rather than allowing the state to determine. Also, some people tell like their children different things.
Right.
My grandma would promise something to the last person she saw. And so, you may have different ideas very genuinely as to what your loved one wanted. And then you can feel strongly about it, come together and be surprised to hear that that's not what they told them. And they feel as equally as rooted in their belief as you do yours. So it saves a lot of money, saves a lot of delay. And then you can also structure your will and through estate planning to avoid probate.
Right.
And again, that saves a lot of time, money, stress.
Can you explain what probate is for those that may not know?
Yes, I think it's a great question. A lot of people don't necessarily understand what a will controls. What is a probate asset versus what isn't a probate asset.
Yeah.
So things that you have in your individual name that don't have any survivorship language. So if my car in my individual name, or I have a bank account in my individual name, personal property, things like that, those are going to transfer through a will. Things that you own jointly.
Yeah.
If I were to pass away and I don't have a will and my husband is named on our bank account, it's going to become his.
Yeah.
And you think of life insurance, 401ks, other types of accounts that have payable on death or transfer on death language. Those are all non-probate.
Right.
So when you're filling those documents out, it's important to be mindful of what you pleaded, the people you've named. And it's just good to go ahead and think through those things before it's too late.
When you have a trusted advisor, such as an attorney on your team, how much benefit that can have and probably save a lot of money as we tie things into financial matters here. It might be the quick way to do something, but having that deep discussion with somebody that you can build a relationship with that knows you, how important is that in your mind?
I think it's extremely important. Even if you've got, the conviction that you're going to do something on your own.
Yeah.
I still think it's best that you have a professional do it, but at the very least, make an appointment.
Yeah.
Have them look over what you've created.
Yes.
There are shortcuts to take, if you absolutely have to, but you might spend a little bit of money to save a lot of money.
Yeah.
We see this in estate planning. We see this in the other areas that we practice in, especially with divorce.
Yeah.
And a lot of times once something's done, it's difficult to undo it.
Yeah.
And way more expensive to even try than if you had got the advice at the start.
Yeah.
And then trusting someone, someone that you can be honest with. There are a number of cases where I was quite surprised midway through to find that my client was less than honest, which can sometimes derail what the theory of your case is or the way you would have negotiated or things like that. So someone you can trust, someone you can be open with and honest with.
Yep.
I think estate planning sounds intimidating to a lot of people. It sounds very expensive.
Yeah.
There are forms like transfer on death deeds for your home. So if your estate is under $100,000, you can do a small estate affidavit. And a lot of times, if you have your wealth and retirement accounts, investment accounts, those are going to have beneficiary designations. And if you've done it right and you've named people and not your estate, sometimes just somebody's home, the equity in that will kick them in to probate.
Yeah.
Whereas if you did a transfer on death deed, you name who you want your home to transfer to upon your death, it's recorded. They just need to take a death certificate and it stays out of probate.
Right.
And that can be done fairly inexpensively. If you pass and you don't own that real estate anymore, it's like it didn't happen.
Yeah. And I think that's a big piece is there's that misconception that everything cost a fortune to get this done. I was surprised how you think about the cost for the benefit of the future.
Yes.
It really outweigh, it's a big benefit in your hands. And it's just go talk to somebody. And I always say when you're finding a partner in your team, whether it's a mortgage person or an attorney, just find somebody you like that you can build trust with. And the more they know, the more that you can help them. Right.
Right. When you look at the way you're spending things, like a lot of people have the ability to do it. It's not as fun.
Yeah.
Like you said, nobody wants to go talk about their death or thinks it's so far in the future. They don't have anything right now. It's not worth doing. And then also updating things as life changes.
Absolutely. Because life does change. I mean,
life changes.
I mean, since we've known each other, our lives have changed completely.
Yes,
and exactly. So, when we think about this show, we teach finance, we teach education. How important do you think it is that, financial literacy and estate planning and will planning, all this kind of stuff is important to reach people to help them understand the benefit of doing something like this?
I think it's really important. Like I said, a lot of people think it's out of reach for them, doesn't apply to them, but that's just really not the case. I think if anybody comes in any stage of life, there's something we could do that would help them should one of those situations occur, either sooner than expected or even later on.
And you think about the future, right? We never know what might be handed to us down the road. I mean, you've got inheritances, you've got things that happen during marriage. I'm sure you deal with, prenuptials, and you've taught me that now there's postnuptials I wasn't aware of.
Again, I think a lot of people see on the movies, a prenuptial agreement was done, and you usually see these extravagant families and things like that. You don't have to have situations or circumstances like that for a prenuptial agreement to be beneficial. We see these a lot in cases where there's family wealth, where they're like, they need to sign this or else we're going to change our planning. And there's ways to do it that I think are fair, that protect both parties. You have a meeting of the minds. You understand what things are going to look like. And then postnuptial agreements. We see this a lot of cases later in life where somebody's parents, they've decided, I don't want to wait for you to inherit after I die. I'd rather gift you money now and see you enjoy it.
You deal with a lot of families that go through a lot of stress.
Yes, we do.
I mean, from divorces to custody to support cases. What are some of the big pitfalls financially that you see families encounter during a big, legal transition, so to speak?
Sure. And then also to circle back onto the topic of inheritance and gift. If you receive an inheritance or a gift prior to or during your marriage, it is advisable to keep that money separate in your individual name.
Okay.
We often see people come in and we talk about, everything goes in the marital pot, regardless of when you got it, how you got it, whose name it's in. That's often a surprise to people. Has to go into the marital pot. Indiana has statute talks about, things that could rebut a 50-50 presumption. And some of those considerations are gift or inheritance. The more that inheritance or that gift is commingled, the less likely you are to recover that as part of your divorce.
Gotcha.
So keeping that separate and understanding, even people with very good intentions will put it in a joint name and commingle it. And like you said, it goes fast. So again, just you don't know what you don't know.
You don't. And that point, with our bank, we are in, a multi-state footprint. So it's important for them, wherever they're listening or watching, make sure you check with your state to see what that state, Indiana may be different than some of the other ones. So it's good to know how things work in your particular state for sure.
Yes. And then so I think I dodged your last
question,
which was about stress during divorce. I think some of the biggest pitfalls are, and it's natural to understand why some people struggle with this, and it's a struggle we see a lot of times, is kind of a lack of just kind of self-control in that moment, a lack of self-discipline, or not having the right people. I think just doing what you can without being completely reactive. It's very easy to get caught up in what somebody else is doing. And then you end up with this tit for tat. And a lot of times it's not moving the needle in your case.
Right.
It's costing a lot of money.
Yeah.
But again, if you pick the right person and you can have those conversations and trust the advice that you're given, be responsive, be organized, and understand what you're going to spend for what you're wanting to get.
Yes. It's so important to have people on your side that are the experts. As much as sometimes we think we know everything.
Right.
It's great to have a little bit of information, but rely on the advice of those experts to help you navigate these difficult situations.
And we also see a lot of cases where people are overspending. People will find that, oh my gosh, we live somewhat comfortably together. And now that we're going to be living separately, if you've got a ton of debt that you can no longer service, and then oftentimes a house has to be put for sale or somebody needs to refinance it to buy the other party out.
Correct.
And then the other person's like, what am I going to do?
They don't realize
I can't
it till
qualify.
afterwards,
Yes. And so also understanding like what you can realistically be doing.
Yeah.
I often advise people, if this is what you're considering for your housing after the fact, or if you can buy this person out.
Yeah.
Go speak with the banker, see what you will qualify for. Just because you qualify for it doesn't mean you should do it.
Right, exactly.
Speak with somebody that's going to look at the overall picture. And it's a huge transition for a lot of people. And so knowing what they can afford, seeing accounts being divided.
Yeah, because most people struggle on a budget with 2 incomes. And then when you transition that to 1, that's definitely something to think about. What are some of the implications as we move from kind of a sad topic of divorce, but another one that affects people a lot, which is the collection side of things?
Sure. So again, we see a lot of people that just think if I ignore it, it'll go away.
Right.
Oftentimes, if you can get in front of it or you go to court, you can potentially negotiate the amount that they're seeking and avoid the interest that's going to be tacked on to the judgment. Judgment, is basically memorializing that an obligation exists.
Yes.
It can be enforced through garnishment.
Yeah.
So if you can speak with the creditor, have someone speak with the creditor on your behalf, a lot of people think, well, I don't have it. They're not going to get it. Well, you get a job and they find out and you're, there's a certain amount that they can take, but if your option if you think I'm just going to quit, well, then you're also in a bad spot. It will attach to your property, to your real estate. And so,
when they could have just made a phone call. And I always tell people, like, what's the worst they can do when you try to negotiate is say no? But once they get a hold of you and they're actually talking to you, they're willing to do something. And I would tell people this time of the year, around tax time, people are getting the biggest check that they've probably gotten all year in most cases. I'm like, this is a good time to work to settle debt. And if you've got creditors out there, now don't tell them how much you got in your tax refund, right? But you have additional money that you can help try to alleviate some of that debt.
Right, absolutely. And in a lot of our divorce cases, we will see, high medical debt.
Yes.
And I will ask a lot of people, have you applied for financial assistance?
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the majority is often no. Strategically, sometimes.
They may not even know that it's available, right?
No. And if you're negotiating divorce and you've got a professional that handles this, if you say, I will assume this medical debt, this goes on my side of the marital balance sheet.
Yes.
Okay, you might take on $10,000, $12,000 of medical debt, but then you can settle it for $6,000.
Right.
And so you've hopefully got more from your marital estate.
Yes.
And then you're doing that work on the, the backside.
Yes.
And then judgments, there's interest that accrues.
Right.
And something that's $5,000 becomes, a lot larger again if you're ignoring it. It doesn't go away.
Yeah. So just face it. It's not going to go away. I always tell people when you're negotiating, if you owe $50,000, don't say I got $1,000. Can we settle today? But be realistic, right? But it works. It really does. The worst they can do is tell you no, but you never know. So, as we kind of move towards the end, Laura, you work closely with individuals during the most stressful moments that they deal with. Any certain financial habits that, separate people who navigate these very well versus ones that really struggle that you could maybe pass on to our listeners?
Again, I think having the right people supporting you, using, what is your budget?
Yeah.
No matter, again, your income level, there should be a budget.
Yes.
It's surprising how many people or their parents are willing to liquidate 401ks or things like that. Determining what your budget is and, asking your attorney, how can I best, this is my goal.
Yeah.
How can I best achieve that with this budget?
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the cost can be driven by how the other side is behaving. But to know, look, in Indiana, if you file for divorce, it has to be open at least 60 days. And so those first 60 days are often high stress. We kind of call it the Wild West of divorce. You're still married. Somebody's asked that you not be married, but there's no court order telling anybody what to do.
Right.
And so there are often a lot of problems early on. And I will explain to people, look, we can go ask for a hearing on these things, but just know that we're spending a lot of money on temporary things.
Yeah.
When we could be focusing, here in 2 months on the final result.
Right.
And while you may not feel like things are fair right now, you can still ask for credit for the way things have been handled, in your opinion, unfairly, you don't lose that argument.
Yes.
Or are there hearings that we could, call and say, hey, we're just going to go move on to mediation.
Right.
So there are things you can do. And I would think that anybody that you're speaking with would be telling you, well, these are some ways you can save money.
Yeah.
I wouldn't cut corners here.
Yeah.
But just know what your budget is so that you're not spending more, getting caught in that emotional reaction than what you're going to receive.
Or that's just good advice for anybody. Live off a budget. I mean, don't spend more than you make. Live beneath your means.
Right.
I think that's a good financial tip that really is something that everyone can use regardless of income level.
Right.
As we wrap up this podcast, Laura, we like to do a little thing that we call a lightning round. We're going to ask you 4 questions and, just kind of give us your gut answer of how you want to answer those. So number 1, what would you see, Laura, as the most valuable lesson that you've learned in your career so far or life?
Okay. I would have to say being true to yourself.
Yeah.
It's easy to compare what you're doing to what someone else is doing or measure your success by what you see someone else doing. And at the end of the day, I don't practice the same way as some other attorneys, and I'm never going to.
Right.
It's like going to the doctor. And if I start trying to do what somebody else is doing, I'm going to get into the weeds.
Right.
And you're just never going to move things the way that you need to.
Yeah.
So just trusting the process, the way you do things. And again, for clients,
Yep.
don't just look to see what somebody else is doing to measure where you are. Just be true to how you do things. And, for me, that's being extremely prepared, being accessible.
Yep.
We're very hands-on firm.
Yes.
And so that works really well for me.
Awesome.
And that suits some people. So I think that, and then love your people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Work doesn't need to be your whole life.
I agree. Work-life balance,
yes,
right?
If there's such a thing.
I know.
But
it's difficult sometimes, but if you can do it, it's worth it.
So be true to yourself and love your people.
Absolutely. Number 2, if you could master any skill, what would you choose?
Okay.
We've had a variety on here. So.
Okay, so one I immediately thought of was gymnastics.
Okay.
Most I have ever done is a cartwheel.
Okay.
My kids are doing crazy gymnastics things, and
Isn't it amazing?
It looks fun.
It does.
There's no way. There's no way. And I think if I could just go out there and do it there. I know. Or a second language. If I could just instantly have
Any
another
preference of language?
No, maybe I'd probably just say Spanish. Just because,
yeah. All right. So I know you have a stressful life. Work gets busy. You have a family. What is your go-to activity or hobby that you use to kind of wind down?
Okay. Most people would tell you I don't ever wind down, but I enjoy traveling.
Yep.
So I think just removing myself completely from work.
You a beach person or?
Definitely beach. The snow is not for me.
Yeah, me
it's
neither.
not for me. And then if we're not traveling, I like to be outside.
Yeah.
My kids like to be outside. So we're often at the pool or a Holiday World, on a hike, downtown Newburgh. We love to go down to the riverfront and eat at Honeymoon. And
that's awesome.
So,
that's great. And then in your life, you've met a bunch of influential people. Who would you say is the most influential to you in your personal life?
It's my mom.
Awesome.
Yep. She's always said, like, if there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. And she's not wrong.
Yes.
So I'm glad that, I've been raised like that.
Yeah.
You don't have time to do it right, you must have time to do it twice. So it's kind of like,
yes.
A lot of things like that. And so she made life fun. She still makes our world go round. I'm 40, still need my mom, I think, as much
that's
as
okay. I still need my mom too.
Yeah, she helps with our kids. She's, I think, Mimi to all of the surrounding area.
That's
She's
awesome.
made like 3 of her best friends in line. Checking out at a store.
It's fantastic.
Or at school pickup.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
I think that's wonderful. And yes, my mom is very influential in my life too, and I think it's great. But I want to say thank you, because this is topics that we get asked about kind of usually after presentations, and people are afraid to talk about it. So I thought it was important to bring you on to kind of help people understand these difficult situations, but how they can be less difficult and maybe less financially impacting their bank accounts when they know the right strategy to go. So having someone on your side that can really help you navigate through these difficult situations and things we don't even think about.
Right.
But how important that is. So I want to say thank you for coming on to help share your expertise.
Sure.
And helping families out there. So, for listeners and followers that are out there and you want to learn more about these topics, we do teach them with our real life finance education classes. But Laura, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your expertise. So we appreciate you having
I
on.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.